Well, it's our first time. Our first time for what, you ask? Life after high school graduation, and I'll tell you, oh yeah, this is Dr. Marv Pickla talking to you, and I'll introduce my first guest here at our video series in a second. But first off, as classes have gone on here at the Oscoda campus, and I get a chance to talk to a lot of young people still in high school as part of the dual enrollment, early middle college opportunity, I have heard many times saying, you know what, we don't have any help, encouragement, whatever you want to call it, on some life skills stuff. And the list goes on about, banking and starting a checking account and taking care of your car, all those kinds of things. And so we took it serious here at the Oscoda campus, and we decided that because of technology, which is never my friend, but we're going to use it today, and try a video series about each of these. And they'll be short, 10 to 15 minutes, so we're not going to take up a lot of time, but we want to make sure that we touch on some of the life skills issues that were talked about and record them, and that way people can take a gander at them anytime. And so that's what this is all about. And again, I promise that you will look forward to some other ones that'll be coming at you down the road. But enough of that startup stuff. And let's get down and talk. My guest today is Mr. Jeff Janis. And yes, he is that former football star from Tawas and Saginaw Valley, and then for the Green Bay Packers for a while. No, not the Lions, but had a good time. But now, Jeff, you got a couple auto shops in Oscoda and Tawas, right?
Yep, we've opened up in 2019. We took over a previous shop, and we've been going since then. So
well, and that was something even in high school you were kind of toying with, right?
Yeah, I started working at the same shop that we own now in Tawas when I was 14. So it's
Wow.
always been something I've kind of enjoyed and been somewhat good at. So it was kind of just a natural fit.
And so we appreciate you stopping by, and we're going to talk about general auto maintenance stuff. So if you were talking to a group from a high school or whatever about maybe the one or two main things to pay attention to when you operate a car, what would you be talking about?
Yeah, well, being that we own a shop now, so these are some of the most common things that we see.
Exactly.
I would say the number one thing is keeping track or monitoring your oil in your car. Most modern cars nowadays, they all come with an oil life percentage, it says 100 or 0.
Okay.
And I'll probably say most everybody takes it right down to 0%.
Really?
Yes, and I would not recommend doing that because most manufacturers it'll be in the computer from 7 to 10,000 miles. And that's going too far on an oil change. So just popping your hood and checking your oil. We pretty much for a synthetic blend oil change recommend about 5,000 miles.
Okay.
If you plan on keeping your car for a long time, you're going to want to change your oil more often than going 10,000 miles on it.
Okay. So as you're out there, think about this. Don't be afraid to get your hands a little dirty. Pop that hood. Yes, today's engines fill up the whole place, and it's hard to figure out if you could change anything, but you can check the oil. It's right there.
Yep.
It's almost self-explanatory when you open it.
And even if you're not comfortable checking your oil either, just stop into any part store or shop. I mean, anybody could pull into our shop and just say, hey, can you check my oil? And it takes 30 seconds. So
and we started down the conversation with, digital readouts these days.
Yep.
When people are looking in, that check engine light comes on. And yes, I know that happens, man. What should you do?
Yeah, same thing. Either pull into any local shop or part store. Most places will scan it for you for free. And they'll tell you if it's something serious that you need to get fixed right away or if it's something that they can just clear and see if it comes back. Which I would say most of the time that's probably what it is. Like an evap leak or something like that. That's not going to leave you stranded anywhere, but it's going to turn your check engine light on. But you don't know that until you have it scanned and have someone tell you what it could be or could lead to.
Jeff, and this brings me back to when my one son, Nick, was driving, and he said, "Dad, it's making this noise, man." And I said, "Nick, there's something wrong."
Yep.
And a car, as far as I know, isn't going to heal itself.
Right.
And so take it in. Most dealers or auto repair places will, you believe, check you for free, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, you could even, that's a great example of just hearing a weird noise that you don't normally hear. Pull into a local shop, even if we can't get you in that day, we can take a minute to just drive it down the road and at least get an idea of what you're talking about and probably point you in the right direction of what it's going to be to fix.
All right, there you go. Free doesn't happen very often, you guys.
That's true.
And
That
so
is true.
you've heard it. So let's talk about tires, man.
Mhm.
You know, obviously, you know, you hope they last forever, but they don't.
Yep.
And what are the kinds of things they should pay attention to with tires?
If you want to get the most life out of your tires, you need to rotate them every oil change. Because like I said before, most people are going 7,000 to 10,000 miles on their oil. So if you get it changed every oil change, that's going to get the most life out of your tires. Because that's another thing that we see a lot nowadays is people are not rotating their tires, and then they're only buying 2 tires at a time, and then they're not the same tread, and you know, you need as much tread as you can get in the winter seasons with snow and slush and ice and everything. So yeah, definitely rotating them as much as possible, which is basically every oil change.
Well, and again, there's some cost to that. Usually, what's it, about $5 a tire, $10 a tire?
Yeah, usually it's about every shop's different, but 20 to 30 bucks for a tire rotation. And like if you were to come through our quick lube, it takes an extra 2 minutes to do it while we're doing your oil change. So it's not really a time consuming thing. It's just something that you just need to do.
And let's talk costs. You know, I used to change oil. Then when, you know, the engines looked bigger than me, I decided I'd better have it done correctly.
Yep.
And to get the wrenches up there is not as easy as it used to be. What's the price tag on a standard 5-quart oil change these days?
It's kind of varied over the past couple of years due to COVID and everything, but it's anywhere from 45 to 55 bucks for an oil change. And that's going through the quick lube where we don't have to put you up in the air, we're in the pit, and it's just, it takes, you've been through, it takes 6-7 minutes sometimes. It's pretty quick, so it's not really an inconvenience for most people. Everybody usually has about that much time to do their oil change.
Well, and even if you go to Walmart and stuff, you guys, these days, you know, to buy 1 quart of oil is $3-4 bucks at least. And so then you got to buy the filter and be prepared. and so your time isn't free either. And having to put that extra time in where, you know, 15-20 minutes, you're done. You know it's done professionally, and you move on.
Yeah, because we're doing 30 to 40 oil changes a day through the quick lube. So to have someone who's doing your oil change that knows what they're doing is pretty helpful.
When you find out that there's something more major as a problem, would you recommend? Well, first of all, if you find somebody that you have trust in, should you get a couple quotes? Should you?
Yeah, it never hurts. Some people, you know, if it's only a couple $100 for the quote, most people just say, yeah, just go ahead and do it. My car's already there. But when you start getting into $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 repairs, that's when it never hurts to get another estimate. Every shop is different. Some shops will say, hey, it only needs this, but some shops will say, hey, if you're doing this, you might as well do this and this with it while you're in there because those tend to go bad as well. There's a lot of things that can come into play, but it just depends on your budget and what you're looking to have done.
Okay, so remember, so far we've talked a little bit about tires and displays on your digital screen, what you should look out for, oil changes, timing, you know, don't wait, you know, for 2 years to get to your oil change, or if all of a sudden the change oil light goes on, you realize that it burned up a lot of the oil because older cars will do that. It happens, you know, pay attention. But Jeff, one of the other things that you sell some cars too. And used cars, especially for young people, you'd like to have a brand new one, but it doesn't happen. So you're going to get a used one. What are the 1 or 2 things that if you're buying a used car to maybe look at or do ahead of time?
Great question. The reason we got into the used car thing was because we kept having customers bring their cars in that say, hey, I just bought this. Can you look it over for me?
Yep.
And I don't know how many times we've looked at it after they bought it and we were like, wow, you should not have bought this vehicle. So before you buy the vehicle, bring it into a local shop, wherever it's at, even if you have to drive a couple hours to go look at the car, find the closest shop to that dealership and say, hey, I'm looking at this car, can I bring it in and have you guys look at it? It's worth the time, because if you're going to spend a bunch of money on a vehicle, you want to have it looked over by a professional before you buy it.
And I know today you can go online and you can find facts about different cars and whether it's been in a wreck and all those kinds of things. But I will tell you that Google doesn't answer everything, you guys.
Yes.
And you can get some facts about it, but there's nothing better than taking it in, having, Jeff or, other groups check it out, and they can say, this tire doesn't look right.
Sure.
And that kind of thing.
And just checking for fluid leaks and
Absolutely.
checking the front end real quick. I mean, they're very easy things to do that would take most shop 5 minutes to look over a vehicle to give you at least a general idea of what it's going to need or what it may not need. So highly recommend doing that.
Well, we could go on. There's other things that are in the auto area, you guys, but we promised that we'd keep these down to 10 to 15 minutes. Mr. Janis, any last minute thoughts, recommendations to the gang out there to pay attention on maintenance stuff?
We covered a good chunk
Yes,
of it.
we did.
I think that's some good recommendations there for starters.
So there you go. Check the oil, the tires, all those things. They sound common, but too often common goes right out the window when you're paying attention. So we appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Janis, for stopping by. And everybody out there, tune in to our next one. My plan is to talk about car loans and starting a banking account. So come on back next month.